This is one of the slides I have in a couple places in the book that talk about the different 10 major cover types. And to back up a little bit, the first one I worked on and showed to you guys was really from 1910 when merit badges came about. That's covered in my book. And then it was about 1913 when the Boy Scouts of America and the Boy Scouts of the British Boy Scouts both were starting to kick around ideas to have some kind of a documented book, not pamphlets, not multiple pamphlets, a book. Uh, Tests and how merit badge tests and how to pass them was one of the names that they kicked around. And this went around from about 1913 to 1916. By about 1916, the BSA, at least, I don't know what happened to the Brits, but in the BSA, they finally said, no, that's too cumbersome, too big. And it'd be a lot better if we just spent one pamphlet per merit badge. And so that's when things really start kicking around. And I honestly think by 1917 or so, they would have had merit badge pamphlets, but World War I or the Great War got in the way. And as all of you excellent historical historians and collectors know, it was just crazy back then about the paper, all the paper and all the money that went to the education department. Editorial department, excuse me, was spent on advertising to get and help scouts sell bonds and have uh, victory gardens and that kind of thing. So they trickled along with the merit badge pamphlets, but it was pretty much held up from 1916 till finally the first ones were actually copyrighted in 1918, just a handful, and the first one came out, as I said on my first presentation, not by circumstance, but just happened to be 3 months after the war was over in November of 1918. In February 6, 1919, the electricity merit badge pamphlet came out for sale about 80 some days later. And that's not a coincidence. That's just because they finally had some money and time and off they went. And that was the first thing I presented and showed you some of the whites as I see in purple up there. I just wanted to represent that's the first thing I talked about. Then the last one, the name of the presentation was Between the Wars, merit badge pamphlets Between the Wars. And that's pretty close because the type 1 and the type 2 white ones were both started coming out in 1919 for sale, just again, literally months after World War I or the Great War. And then we went through the white over reds, and the white over reds came about because of World War II and in 1944, excuse me, only. There were about 84, I think they were, subjects that were the wartime books where they had the wartime, the recycled paper, and the wartime insignia on the back that the Boy Scouts of America were doing their duty and not using as much paper or using recycled paper. And that actually ended in November 1944. So by late November and December of 44, they actually went back to what a lot of you have seen. Some of you may have even used the white over red pamphlets back in or that really came out in the late 40s and went to 1952 and 1953. So that's why I said that was kind of the between the wars. Now we're going to go into the last five in the green that you see, and that's the photo over red covers, which was my cover when I crossed over to scouting in 63, and and stayed until about 66, early 67, I think, something like that, for about 3 years. So I'm very familiar with those. So they came about, then the full photo cover replaced them. We'll cover that. And then they got replaced by what Larry did an excellent job of explaining the turmoil and trouble that happened in the early 70s. And we'll cover that a little bit more as it relates to the merit badge pamphlets. They then were replaced when Hillcourt wrote the new Scoutmaster Handbook and the handbook, and everything changed again for the merit badge pamphlets, the red and white strip, and we did that from 79 to very early, couple last printings in '08, January of '08, and then a break until August of '08 when en masse the covers that we have today came out. So now let's just, what I'm going to do here mostly is give you at least one advertisement or a couple of things that showed how the BSA was thinking about merit badge pamphlets and how they were relating them, how they were trying to sell them, and how they were getting the scouts to use them. And each of the five different cover types. Then I'm going to give you a description of the cover type and a little extra history on them, and then some funny examples. Everybody likes it's not that mundane, but most of them, we all know what they look like. I want to bring in a couple things for each of them where I think you guys would have some interest. Again, all this is covered in way more detail in my book, but for now, let's just hit a couple of highlights. I picked this advertisement you see here. If you look in the bottom left corner, at hopefully you can see my arrow flipping around there. This is they're talking about another zoology is going to come out in March 1st of 1954, and I have this in reference to my book. I think it was February 54 when this advertisement was in Boy's life. And so this is just nice advertisement that came out just a few months after the last of the red and white, excuse me, the photo over red covers came about, as you can see, from 1952 and 53, about 35 years after the pamphlets came out. The other thing on this advertisement that I didn't bring up that much of it the previous two times, but boy, I've got some really fun and interesting articles articles and more like advertising when the merit badge pamphlets were fairly new. But now my whole point of this is now they're saying, now, okay, they're part of us, has been around for 35 years, and they're just integral to the scouts being able to get merit badges so much easier and do actually a better job using with the help of merit badge pamphlets. And that in turn, as we all know, was some of you know better than I, was somewhere between 1926 27 when Life Star Eagle, as it was back then, became ranked. Before that, it wasn't ranked, but when they really became ranked, then man, then we even needed more of the merit badge pamphlets. So merit badge pamphlets, so they could get the merit badges, so they could get the rank. So it really became an integral part of the trilogy that are those three things. So as you can see here, now they're talking to the scouts, and instead of saying, "Oh, look at these new merit badge pamphlets we've got, and these new ones are coming about, and this is a new kind of cover," now it's more about help you learn more about merit badge pamphlets. So it really was what they were pushing, and that was fine. So coming down here a little bit farther, so let's define what we call the Type 6 covers, which are the photo over red. I guess the name pretty self-explanatory. Took over from the white over red pamphlets, but they replaced it with a photo about 60% of the cover. And then with a deep red base, which was left over from the from the white over red. Name of the subject badge is depicted either name or the subject of it is in black or white. And you can see here, I just picked these three up. I picked them mostly just to kind of see that they tried to get white when there's a back background, but even some of the darker ones has some black ink names of the subjects, and they had the same font type. But they didn't have the font size. You can see the beekeeping on the left. I picked that to show the beekeeping in the middle is different font. But so it was a little bit more wild west then it got to be more and more a stable kind of thing as you're going to see on the next one. So it was, but at least they had the names were all in the same font, and the merit badges would be placed around all different places wherever they least affected the picture, which is a good idea. Nothing wrong with that. And then the next couple lines, let's talk about I actually kind of think this is pretty sharp with the scout symbol between the two, and that's left over from the red over white. And this is as well, Merit Badge pamphlet and the Boy Scouts of America. The white over red had this, and so the bottom was the same. It's the top that changed. One thing I will bring up before I start talking about the 111 photo over red covers, the Standing Scout only had 85 subjects because they were slowly phasing them in. They still have a fair amount of tan covers. And then wham, when the war really got to the place where the BSA did not have paper anymore or ink, then they did the white over red. They had red ink and black ink, so all they could get their hands on, so that everything else, all the beautiful colors of the Standing Scouts went away. And when they did that, they only got up to about 85 out of what should have been a little over 100 subjects, but they didn't all get subjects, partly because they still had enough tan covers. I'll cover that in a minute for some of them, and they just didn't get it done. They're slowly building them up until they hit the wartime ones that from roughly March to November of 1944 shut down anything else. Only the wartime books had them, and there were only 84 wartime books that had subjects that had merit badge pamphlets. And by the end of 1944, before the war was over, they did the white over red without the wartime cover. So, but then they got up to, I think, then they had 107 white over red. So they're only then on now the photo over red multiplied up to 111. And partly was that because they were around for quite a while. And I'm going to show you that some subjects changed, and I consider every subject change, and I'm about to get to that on as an example, as a new name subject. I don't care if it was like textiles turned to textile or something like that. We talked about handicap awareness. It was handicapped, then it was handicap, and and they changed that around as well. So that would change and make a couple different subject names. So really, there wasn't a whole lot of changing in the amount of subjects between the two covers. Let's see. Oh, the price stayed pretty much. It was fairly cheap. 1919. It went to 10 cents. It went up to 20 cents. That was throwing me off like crazy when I was trying to research this. I finally found it, and in my book, I document this over a few pages. They went up about 1920. They went up to 20 cents. And if somebody says, "What is this extra tariffs or whatever?" I don't know. Why'd you go up 100% increase in the price of a book in a year? And what happened is they couldn't sustain that, so they brought it back to 15 cents, and then it stayed that way to 20 cents in the 20s, and now it's up another nickel in 1930 in the 1950s. That's 35 years and only up 10 to 25 cents. That's not bad. Photo span 1952 to 1967. Like I said, well, I know that Marty and I saw these because now I know for sure that was ours, and some of the rest do. Some of the rest of you have done that. But we had a maximum of the baby boomers, so many scouts in there, and increase of availability at scout stores. You got to understand too, it was still even hard back before World War II to get a hold of some of these pamphlets, especially you're very rural. But now you've got them available and massive volumes, and so they were just selling millions and millions of pamphlets. Let's go in really quickly here to an example. I said there'll be each one of these is going to have a kind of an interesting twist of some of the things that I cover in each of the different chapters on something that happened. In this case, citizenship, which you all know used to be civics, excuse me, I should say that way, until 1949. They were changing it over. And when they did that, this is actually from this article is here is from Scouting Magazine. In December 1950, the first merit badge pamphlet with this design had come out. Now, remember, right up here, I'd said that the 1952, 1953, they still had white over red. So this was not, they didn't start changing any of the rest to a photo over red, but they changed the civics one to photo over red in 1949, and then another copy in 1950. And that's the one that probably a lot of you have seen, and it has more of a bluish hue to the Statue of Liberty, and it has nothing merit badge series or anything below it because it was a prototype. But they made two printings of 25,000 each, so there was 50,000 of these bad boys. And I've had some people, because I am the one thing I'm a subject matter expert in, of course, is merit badge pamphlets. Oh, I found a citizenship that was a prototype. I go, yeah, you and everybody else. There's 50,000 of those boys printed, and they're not that hard to find, but they're fun if you want to try and collect all three. So you had those two in the 49 and 50, and again, it was before 1952, 53 when the rest of the subjects got changed to a photo over red. Then in June of 1953, as you can see in the middle one, this is one thing that's interesting about this. Those of you that have the merit badges might not know this, but back in the day, 4 merit badges were in one pamphlet. And that's the way it stayed for a few years. And I have them up there: home, community, nation, and world brotherhood, which became world citizenship in the world. But those 4 are all listed on there. And that one, they had 30,000 printed. So that is not as hard to find either, but it's a little bit difficult. It's a fun, decent, kind of cool one to have. And then later in 1953, the 4th edition that you see on your right, well, now it's 1953, and photo over red is what's established for all of them. So that's the flow of citizenship. It's kind of a fun one for this one. I'm going to cover it again in the next. It goes on from there, but I want to show you that. Before we get to type 7, I also want to talk about deviations. I talked on the last 2 presentations that there are 10 cover types, and then there are 18 if you count cover types and subtypes. 5 of the 10 cover types had subtypes. Most of you are aware of the tan ones that had the 4 with the 4 different addresses on the bottom of the tan covers. This did not. This photo over red did not have a cover type. The white did. The wartime is cover type uh, five, yeah, 5A, and then 5B is the non-cover ones. Well, but so there's, as you see here, where it says the cover type 6 had no subtypes, but it had deviations, and all the different covers had deviation. And the deviation is, I think, it's one of the proudest things that Ron and one other gentleman who doesn't want to be mentioned, and I spent uh, man days. I had Ron and another guy come to my house 2 years ago in the summer. Twice they drove 1,000 miles round trip, slept in my house. I fed him. We worked about probably 15-hour days for one time 5 days, 4 days, and one time 5 days. They spent a week in my house. That's how hard it was to go through 10,000 merit badge pamphlets and get all the subtypes and the deviations. Oh my God. That was too hard to do, but we did it. And so the deviations then are the changes to the covers. And I think that for collectors or wannabe collectors of merit badge pamphlets, when well, now my book is about to come out. I'll show that at the end. But now we've got the deviations now, and I want to use this as an example. Here are the 4 deviations for first aid. And since there is no subtype, it would be, if there were subtypes, it'd be like 6A, 1, 2, 3, whatever. But there is no subtype. So the 6 is a cover type. The I, double I, all the way IV are the 4, how I identify the 4 subtypes. And that is because one or more changes happen from one printing to the next printing. And you have to give, if there's going to be deviations, you have to give the first printing of the first cover type, when the first printing of, in this case, cover type 6, it is deviation 1I, only if there's going to be other deviations. If there's no deviations, there's no deviations for that subject. And a lot of smaller subjects didn't have them, but the bigger ones especially did. So as you can see here, first aid is in black, the words first aid is in black, and the picture is way different. As I say, if there's one or more changes per printing, it's all considered one deviation. Well, they changed it to first aid white and changed the photo. So there's 2 deviations, but they're both counted as the same deviation because they both came out in the same printing. So that's double I. Then what they come over here for, they came over here, and now they have to later on decide to change and swap and make the cross and first aid in the merit badge dark and the background white. So that's deviation I. And then what's the deviation in the 4th one? Look at the sleeve on the Explorer Scout here. This is kind of the cool stuff I find in my book. The Explorers changed the design of their patches, and when they did that, the Boy Scouts air whatever they do, they took the patches and they made them invisible, made it part of the sleeve. So look at there, they changed the picture because they took the patches out, thus causing the 4th deviation, which is some of the anal stuff that we found. And that's just a good example. Going on to the 7th type, this is the full photo. As you can see, went from 60% to 100%. This only lasted for 4 years because then the green covers come out that we'll talk about further. So these are actually a little harder to find because they only had 4 years and not that many printings of the different covers. And the name on this one, kind of like up here, the names are still in the same. They changed the size again of the font, but I think they're using the same font size, but they're still using the white and the black before. They're still moving it around a little bit so they keep it out of the picture. And I use cycling to say they didn't care if it was cycling was one color before. When they changed the photo, if white would have done better than black, they made that change. Let's see. And now they've got Boy Scouts of America quite small in the word merit badge series, not pamphlets, but merit badge series around what we call a bullseye. And we all came out, those of us who worked on the book and everything came out to calling this the bullseye. And again, we had 111 photo overread, had 111 of these subjects. They weren't all the same. Things changed around, but it just so happened that they kept it at the same amount of subjects. If they did away with one or combined one, they, meaning BSA, they kept them all about the same. So let's look a little quick on this one to kind of find deviations and different things that happen. So again, they also do not have subtypes, but all cover types, again, have deviations. Like here we are again. Same kind of thing. This case, the picture changed and the color and the where the word horsemanship got moved over. And on this one, you got to look down here and look at this. When they changed the merit badge, they also had to change it on the merit badge pamphlet. So even this little change right here is a deviation. So this deviation had two things: new photo, well, actually three, where they had the name and the color, the white or black of the name, and this one was just the saddle instead of the horseshoe. Again, this is fun for you guys to collect merit badge pamphlets. If you ever have any kind of subject or something you want to collect instead of the whole thing, if you get my book, you'll be able to really see when the pamphlet changed to when the merit badges that you have changed in the same year groups. All right, one other thing on here. This is again that was just to give you an example of the deviations. This gives you a little bit more of some of the slightly like the citizenship one. We had the different things happening. Here you had the first printing of the radio one, and it actually has KO. I think that's 0 BSA. I don't do radio, so pardon me if I say anything wrong. For if any of you guys are ham radio guys, well, I got plenty of friends here, but I never did it. So they have and radio station on there, and this is not cut off. I did a bad job of snipping this. They cut off. This is cut off on the merit patch too. So I thought that was funny. So they only kept it on for one printing. And again, but when they took it off, then they moved it over. So what are the two changes of it? One, they took all this text off, and number two, they moved the word radio over. That's where you get your deviation. And so yeah, deviation one is the first one, and the second one. And most of you know this, but I just thought I'd throw it in there. You know that the some of you said you don't know semaphore, but semaphore, since the wireless merit badge pamphlet back in 1919 changed over to radio. Even in 1919, they had the same Morse code that I show up here that represents the letters BSA, which is kind of a fun little thing they did. And like I said, each time I go through one of these five, I'm going to show you a little different thing that was advertising. And here's one for cooking that was a promo that was in the Boy's Life again, just to show you that this is the ones I showed you in the previous one was a lot more of sell the merit badge pamphlets. They're here. They've got new subjects that have come out with merit badge pamphlets. Now they're ready to go run to your Scout store or whatever and go buy them, or J.C. Penney's or wherever you buy your Boy Scout stuff. As we know, they had little shops that did that back in the day. And so they're telling them, here's a great thing to help you learn to get your cooking merit badge. Moving on then, that was again very short-lived, 4 years. And then as Larry talked about, and I'll just kind of go on, it's kind of the same thing. I had it in my book in gory detail for 2 or 3 pages about what happened in October 68, introduced this new concept of membership. And they were hoping to grow membership in size, but quite the opposite. It shrank like crazy. It was terrible. It's called Manpower 76 because they started it in 68, but they'd start getting it ready for the 200th anniversary in 1976. So I just use this in the book as one example. It's like any other patches. There's multiple versions of this. If anybody said, hey, that's not the one I remember, that's just one of many, but I just used it to represent. So as I call these the green strip, because if you see any of these merit badge pamphlets that have been hidden away in some room somewhere, dark room, they're always got kind of a yellowish green. Unfortunately, when Ron and I were scanning all these, they look really yellow here, which I even put in the book. Just can't be helped, but it's more of a green. This gives you more of the color they were. And some of you actually had this book, and you know that they were more green than yellow. And this is what I just have this in my book on merit badge pamphlets, and we had Larry talking about it last week, and just so you hear you again. So all three things changed because and not just these, but almost anything publication came about to this color and this font size and everything else, and that became what it was for the merit badge pamphlets as well. Just throwing it in with what Larry kind of introduced us to last week. So that's why I call them the green covers, even though they have a greenish yellow look, even without getting scanned, or the covers we had. Again, the small yellowish green cover on the top with this always the standard size. Now you're going standard. The last two, they moved the names around. They had them white, they had them black. Bam, on this one, they type 8 covers, these green strip covers. They made them all right, left justified, all the same font size and all the same font. So they really standardized these, and that's showing you that. Now, the short strip below, this is really hard to see, even when you're looking right at the merit badge. And and I'll tell you a little bit more on these couple of lines on it. On the right side is a merit badge, merit badge subject of the badge symbol is always black with a white background and I forget a black background. Then on the left side, it's got actually around it, it's got merit badge series. I didn't even see this for like 10 years because I didn't have to say I wasn't paying that much attention to this cover. It wasn't my favorite, and you can't even see it here. But this word around here says here it says merit badge covers, merit badge series. That's what those three little. And it's not just because you're not seeing it that well on the screen. I'll bring one right up to your face, and unless you're told to look for it, you almost don't see it. You can't even read it. It's very poorly done. And you've got the Boy Scouts here too, which is also not very well to see. So everything that's been roughly in the different covers, but they moved around. And now instead of 111, now we are getting into time and scouting when they said, "Yeah, let's bring in more merit badges, and we don't have to retire one for every new subject we bring in. Let's pump up a few more," and they got up to 132. And then again, this was around for about 6 years, from 1973 to 79. Now, see, yeah, okay, this is on there. I want to bring back again the evolutions of civics, because it happened, even the next evolution happened a couple more into the screen series after we went through. And I'll cover the full photo one here because there wasn't that much of a change. So there on your far left on your screen of the 6 scans of merit badge pamphlets you see, that is a 1919, I believe it is, type 1 civics merit badge pamphlet. Very cool. It's mine, out of my collection. I haven't seen too many of those. And I think I've seen 2 others. But the point of telling you this is civics has been around since was one of the very first ones that ever got printed. Then it had all 4 tans. It had a standing scout. It had both whites. It had blah, blah, blah. Then, though, the big change from civics to citizenship in 1949, and then finally in 1953, when this came out, and then later in 53, when the words below of the 4 different merit badges came off the cover, but they had all 4 merit badges, the merit badge pamphlet information a scout needed to help complete the badge were literally go to the first couple pages and started with home and that kind of thing. And the pamphlet was fairly one of the fatter ones or thicker ones, as you might imagine, because they had information for 4 different things. That stayed the way with the citizenship and the full photo that we just got talking about from. And then in 72, when they came over, this is where we roughly have today. Citizenship in the community became community. I mean, citizenship, the community and nation names stayed the same. They dropped the brotherhood and they just put down citizenship in the world, and they turned 1 pamphlet into 3. And another thing I found in my research is amazing what you can find when you spend hundreds of hours researching, actually over 1,000 hours, well over 1,000 hours on this book. Where did citizenship in the home go? Well, it just so happens that personal management also came out exactly when these came out in the early 70s. And they took a small part, or at least a part of citizenship in the home. On the home thing was, to be a good citizen, you just needed to take care of your money and manage your personal management, manage your money, manage your time, and all that. So they took the home one and they moved the requirements into personal management. But the other 3 have got them. They changed the names a little bit, and now to this day we still have these 3 that cover it. So there's a kind of an interesting. I'm gonna try to pick a subject on all these, and that's how citizenship evolved. Civics evolved into the citizenship 3 that we have today. This is just a quick one. Again, this one also does not have a subtype, this green and white, green strip one. So I just did deviation. If you look at these now, you can probably see it, but dummy here, when you're looking through merit badge pamphlets hundreds of the time, sometimes it's like looking through patches. After a while, you just don't really see what's all there. And I was looking through these things, and I just kind of pulled them, like a dummy on myself. Again, probably 10 years went by, and again, this cover was not my favorite kind. So they're fairly easy to collect. I got them. I got the printings I needed. I put them in my collection. And then one day I was looking at it, I go, I happened to pick up two of them at the same time. I go, but you see that the bird is bigger? The bird is bigger, and they changed the size of the picture. So that was actually something I didn't even perceive until I really looked at it and said, yep. So that's what came two deviations. So I just given again, throwing a little examples in here. And now, as again, Larry talked about, then Boy Power 76 hit the dust, and 79 was discarded, and the official handbook came out, Green Bar Bill. He already covered that last week. 1979 saw the introduction of the Type 9s, and it was actually fall of 79. And they went to weather was one. There's one or two subjects that were had a printing in January of 80, but really by the end of I'm sorry, the rest of them came out in 1980, and they went till 08. I'm sorry, I'm getting 1980 and 08 up. The weather went to 08 when they got the printing there. So again, we're talking about here the red and white strip. Very, really deep thinking to come up with that. So we got it right up there. It still has the full photo, but now it's got the strips on it. The green top has been replaced with the red and white. White house the merit badge. So there again, standard on this, like the green one, but I like that. This is much easier script to read with this kind of font. And the merit badge is always on the left, and pretty standard, as we know, because now we're coming up to merit badges were used until that's only about 13 years ago. And of the border of the merit badge symbolized, then they had the subject. The one thing they did here, and I think I've got it down here. Yeah. We'll cover this. Yeah, let's go down to this now. As we're covering in here, you can see this is finally coming up with the idea. Let's make the border white for Eagle required ones and black for not. So that's what I have here representing the two, and this one is to show it. Also, and then the Boy Scouts of America became a lot easier to read than the green, and they had merit badge series. Again, really cleaned things up quite well with this. And we went from 111, green had 132, and now we're up to 145, getting a lot of them. Again, too, because this ran for so long, there were many that got combined to one, and some that changed their names and ended up getting two. Now, finally, we've got something that does have a deviation. So this is, now you can see on the bottom here where I have examples, we have not just deviations, but subtypes. They have subtypes. The first was subtypes since the Type 5 with the white over red cover with the wartime and non-wartime. That was the two subtypes here. Now they had two. And this one I didn't see. The other two guys beat me up when they were here with me once we got to this for a couple of times, and beat me into submission because I had no counter to them saying, if there's a change to every merit badge subject in the cover type, then you have to have a subtype. I said, but it's so small. And they go, hey, a rule's a rule. And they were right. So in about 1993, came into 1994 as well. Remember, this started in 79. 1993, I put two pictures out here, make it a little easier to see. Boy Scouts of America, now it's spread out a little bit more and easier to see. So that is why there's a deviation. That's all covered in the two kinds of my book. So now that's the two subtypes, and then this here is deviations down here, and there's 7 of them. This is about the best thing I can show you as far as how subtypes and deviations with the covers goes crazy. This all happened because now we're getting into the 90s or whatever, and even over to 2008. By then, the ability to have computers and change, make fairly easy changes to things happen, and it just blew. And photography was so much easier they just were having fun and games at the merit badge department of the Boy Scouts of America because they changed things like crazy. So here we go again. So we have a 2A's. See this? These print's a little smaller, then it gets wider here. So these are the 2A's. They're all Type 9 covers, red, white strip. These are the two with the subtype. Now, why are there two different ones? Well, very simply, it went from this photo, there was one change to this one. So that was a deviation, making this deviation number 2. But then when you start a new subtype, you got to start the deviations over again. That's how we decided to do it in the book, or do it for posterity for all collectors from now on merit badge pamphlets. So again, the first one, like this one, has to be DA1 or I. This has to be DBI. It's the first one. Then in two places, there's two changes. One is, of course, the change to the picture, and number 2, they changed the merit badge, but somebody screwed up and didn't put everything in the merit badge. Okay, but they printed it, now out it went. So what happened here to get on the 9B double I is because then they put the keyboard in that was missing from this one. Well, that's a change, whether you didn't want to do it or not. Then I don't know what happened here, but they changed for one printing, the keyboard went red. Okay, there's 9IV. And then they turned it black to black. There's one, and they changed the picture. So that's 9V. So you've got 7 different deviations all in over the years of this journalism, just as an example. This is an interesting thing that I found out Norman Rockwell. I love Norman Rockwell. We just talked about he's wonderful, amazing person who did not as much art for the Boy Scouts as I think Larry or somebody was talking about the other day, but he did do some. And he was, by the way, I found out he was we knew he was the art director of the Boy Scouts of America. It was 1913 to 1916. He only really worked for Boy Scouts full time for 3 years. To the fall of 16, then he went to the Saturday Evening Post, and off he went. But he then came back and did at least one picture every year. All right, so but he was notoriously bad on deadlines, and he liked, as we were hearing about earlier, he on the covers of the handbooks by Larry, he loved to have models. We were talking about he even paid him and all that kind of thing. Well, he was way behind on getting the 1967 World Jamboree in Idaho picture done. So what he did is he found this picture right here on the left, black and white, actual, not picture, picture, not art, but picture of the 1963 World Jamboree in Greece, and said, okay, I don't have time to get models. I don't have time to come up with an idea. I'm going to just take this picture and turn it into a painting that Norman did. I'm not trying to pick on Norman a little bit, but he did it really fast too. And you notice these flags look like they're going down in size. They're not really. It's obvious that from where the road is, if you see the whole thing, the flags are going more into the distance. And so obviously our eyes think that they're smaller, like seeing a mountain in the distance. We can put our thumb up and take out a mountain because it gets so small. Same thing here. Well, I like the fact that he put the American flag on top, but his aren't going back into the scenery here. So they're right along the road. So these should have been the same height. But, there's license when you're a painter. Now, here's the fun thing. The reason I've even brought these two up is that there's only one merit badge pamphlet with a Norman Rockwell cover, and it is American Culture. As you see the red and white strip, there's the name right there again. But he might be turning around in his grave because this came out after he died. That they messed around with it. So the guys, the painting here is all the same, and even some of the pulls are kind of the same. But what happened up here? Well, where's the American flag? Right where the strips got to go. That won't work. I don't even know what this piece is right here. And you can see, like here, the Canadian flag's over this. Here it's behind us. So they changed everything around, and they took out this flag, which we all know is Nicaragua. I know it because I went and looked up all the flags of the world countries so I could find this one that was it's Nicaragua. They took it out. Whoever did the art, and they moved the American flag here. Now, this kind of annoys me because this is about American culture. And those of us that know about the American flag, we say if it's in the United States, it has to be higher than other countries. But when they're in another country, the American flag should be at equal height as all other flags. So this is whoever did this. I'm not really thrilled. So I'll just bring it up. I know I'm being a Karen here a little bit, but It's the only cover that he did, and this isn't on Norman Rockwell. Somebody changed all this. I just thought you all be. It's a gee whiz. If you ever see one laying around, you can dazzle the guys around you and tell them, "Oh, I know how that all happened." So I just thought that was an interesting concept. Again, just like all the rest of it covered in the book. And then here's the an article. Now you're seeing this color. Again, this is the Boy's Life cover out of Boy's Life. Now it's got we're now in the 90s, and it's showing early 2000s, and it's in color and all this new merit badge composite material. So you need to get not just earn the merit badge. I didn't even do that. Merit badge, you must go. It'd be a lot easier if you go and got the merit badge pamphlets to go, and it says, whoa, composite merit badge pamphlet, and put it in yellow down here. And now what, oh, that's right. That's the other reason I put it in the book. Now, before they would just say, like, go to your store and get it. But we're getting into the newer age here. Now you got the supply number, which they had for a while, but now they have, WW Boys Life and a phone number, and even the website to go get your merit badge pamphlets or more help on different things. So we're seeing the new change, but still with the merit badge pamphlet. So the last of them that we're going to cover here quickly are the current ones. Came out in 2008, all in August of 2008. So I said the 2000 and late 2007, and just briefly very early in January 2008, the red and white strips, they made enough printings. I actually looked, and there was big printings toward the end. The 07 printings of most of them had a big volume. And so that was holding them over until 2008, when there was a mass introduction of all the photo over reds, came out all at once. And so now we have these great computers with all this. We can get, grab and drop different colored art and different pieces of that represent what's in the pamphlet. We can throw them on there. And the other one was 145 for the red and white strip. It's down to 143 because in the 13 years that we've had these covers, we've had some cover name changes, and some go retired and some new ones come in. But remember, the red and white strip ones lasted from almost 30 years, 28 and a half years. So we're only halfway there on these, on the covers we have now. And that number, in fact, you know what? I just think of something. I think I don't have the 144. That multi-sport, that number should be 144. I just thought of that. I didn't think I changed that number. So there's 144 subjects. It's the 10th cover type. They now have that they have the blue for elective, and the silver again for the Eagle required ones. Along with, now we've got the nice silver instead of just white, the nice silver border around, represented with full color, as opposed to the green border, meaning they're electives. And we know sometimes some change to become Eagle ones and out again. They're always playing with that. Merit badge series now is very prominent up here. Before it was down little and on the bottom or around, you couldn't see it. It's very prominent now. The Eagle borders, I covered that. Multiple images. I'll talk about that in a second, a little bit more. And at the bottom, Boy Scouts of America, which again, I'll cover that also in a minute, because that's how we do have 3 subtypes here, and that's all about the Boy Scouts of America and their BSA emblem. Let's see. Yeah, they changed it 3 times in 3 years. Before I go into that, I got another slide for it. So this is just to show you the Eagle and the non-Eagle. Here's what happened on the 3 cover subtypes. I said, you know what? They're in the store, and I had a decent job back then before I retired, and was making some decent money. I said, I'm just going to spend $450, and I'm buying all 114 mint condition merit badge pamphlets with this new cover on it, because it'll stay the same for years. I'm good to go, right? No. Bastards and BSA changed it a year later. So here's what happened. These 3, everything else here looks the same, but look what happened down here. They had the word Boy Scout in black and the symbol in the middle. That was only the printing in 2008. In 2009, they took the symbol and they put it in front, and they turned it from black to blue color, and they changed the size of the font and the type of font. They made about 4 different changes. So right now, there's got to be about 100 of these or something like that. I think I got 20 because I'm not going to go out and spend another $450. Screw you guys. I did it once. So I'm even looking for a lot of these. If I see you or you see me trying to scrape up some of these, you're like, well, you got to have that, John. Nope. And they only had this for 1 year. So this is 08, 09, and 10. They changed it again. And they made the border bigger, the bottom border bigger, and brought it down. And this is the way it is to this day. And by the way, that multi-sport now has Scouting America on it. So we'll see if any more come out, and that will be the D, subtype D. But I'm not going to go and make any change in my book because of one. I want to make sure that's going to be the standard. And since it just came out and my book was already written, I didn't change that. But anyway, that's it. So these two are hard to find. This one, there's plenty of this. What else? Two things happen on the design itself. Only reason I'm showing these two next to each other is they change things, but you see how much stuff is on here cluttering it. I think somebody said, less is more. And so a few years into making the merit badge pamphlets, you'll see this. I can't say it happened to all of them, but almost all of them have less stuff on the front and a little more white. They're like, okay, we don't need all that in there. You guys are having fun with your computers and putting all this on here. We're cutting it back. So that's the reason I did that. But a lot of it had major changes. So here I just brought oceanography. They changed the background other than the merit badge, and where the word oceanography is. They've got everything new. So it could be just changing a few things. Now they got the computers and the ability to do it. They changed it. They also added this STEM, the NOVA for STEM. I put this in here because in the book I explained this. Remember, I said that it would be a different subtype if it happened to all subjects. Well, the whole point is NOVA is special in STEM. If it's a STEM, if it's technology and math or whatever, that's the only one that gets this. So not all the merit badge pamphlets like these over have it. So the first printing that has the STEM on it, that caused a deviation, but it did not make it a subtype because they didn't have covered all of them. And as we're getting here toward the end here, again, I like to bring up, just show now it's even a prettier, nicer article in Boy's Life. This is 09. This is fairly new, just a little over a year after the first one came out. The other reason I like this one is came out in December 2009. But this is the 2010 cover. Remember, I just set up here. See, it's down here. This is the 2009. So somebody got a hold of a new one. Only I would see that because I know the difference. But it has 2010 or later merit badge pamphlet on it. But also, it's a nice art. As I showed you one for all the other four, I wanted to show you that. So I know I went burning through all this, but I just wanted to give you guys a working knowledge of all the different covers. We had the photo red, full photo, green strip for a short time, and the red and white forever, and the cover types. So what we've done on the presentations, I believe now, I wasn't sure how many it would take me. There's going to be 5. So this is the third one. The next one, whenever I do it, probably July or something like that, I'm going to be kind of gone most of the first half of the summer. Be special issues and other merit badge pamphlets. I say other merit badge pamphlets because there were other pamphlets for merit badges that, like the Air Scout ones, that aren't any of these 10. So I had to come up with special ones that are merit badge pamphlets, but special issue, prototypes, that kind of thing. The ones when Philadelphia had their merit badge. Okay, I've got that merit badge pamphlet in my book. So that's what we're going to cover next time. And then the fifth one I'm going to do, well, again, Larry covered a little bit about the hard covers. I call them extra covers because people call them library covers and some call them hard covers. Well, that's a nice subset, but there's some soft covers that aren't library covers. So if you cover everything, I came up with extra covers. And what happened is you had book binding merit badge. And a lot of the Boy Scout books that have a kind of a one-of-a-kind covers on them. Now, I know we show the ones that are by the Boy Scouts of America, but there are some Boy Scout ones that have a hard cover over a soft book. That was them earning the merit badge. And there's a lot of them that earn the merit badge by putting a extra cover on their merit badge pamphlet. There's a ton of them, and oddball things like mistakes, mostly printing things I'll show you, or they're printed upside down or backwards, or stuff's missing, and they actually got sold with stuff missing. So that'll be the fifth presentation we get to it. My book's here. So I'm going to show you. This is actually where this little line through here. This is a prototype, and a little bit got cut a little bit here, and so this is the soft cover. It's only reason it's not out on Amazon yet. The ebook is out as of last Thursday, 4 days ago, and this has got a couple changes. When you put the ebook out, you can't put page numbers in because the ebook promulgates it with numbers, and that got in our brain. And me and my editor forgot to say, "Well, we don't have any pages. This book has no pages in it." But hold on, let me open up to Appendix 1. I'll show it. Instead of explaining it to you, I will show it to you. Give me about. I'm getting there. Here we are. This isn't going to be the easiest thing to see, but this is. You see now, as best I can put it, this is one of 3 pages of first aid. So as you see, all the cover types and subtypes are there, and then I've got. Hold on. Oh. Come on. Can't do this, can't juggle at the same time. And then here's 2 more pages of the same thing. Page 2, and page 3.
Right.
Page 3. So these have every type. Well, I'll tell you, this is what you can do, Larry. Add up all these. I can add them for you right now. While somebody else is talking, but there is all that you need. And then you can't read it very well, but you see these columns. Let's see if I can get this in here. These columns. This is the grunt work that we got halfway through the A's, and then we jumped to first aid. In there, we've got in the different rows. I'll say what they are. There's the subject on the top. I got to change my glasses here. Then we got the type, and subtypes, the dates they were published, the quantities, and then comments on specific things. So in here, you've got how many were printed, when they were printed, when you have that information, and specific descriptions on them. No printing information at all, just copyright. That's all I can go by in my book, and what I've got is just the copyrights for type 1 and type 2. And actually, that's the same for the early TANs, the type A TANs. It wasn't until 1930. TANs came out in 1925. It wasn't until 1930 until they put in the month and the year. So they put like March 1932. So that came out in like 30, and in 31 or 32 they put the printing number in. So it was you got the early TANs. It's the same thing, just a copyright, and that's all we got to go on. And then you're right. Then the dates start coming out, and then the numbers come out. So I can't tell you. If somebody asks me how many TANs there were, I can't add them all up, because there's the first 5 years of them, and there could be multiple printings. There's no way to know how many printings there were. Other than I found some weird little changes inside the book. I found some, but mostly you just don't know how many were printed, because it's lost. The paper, the admin paperwork on that is long gone. They stopped putting it in there toward the end of the red and white strips. Yeah, the red, and then they have it back in the color covers. The first year, 2008, it's inside the book. And then from then on, if any of you guys are looking at the rest, I'm starting in 2009. They only have the year. They don't have the printing, and they don't have the month, but they have the year. And starting in 2009, they put it in the back bottom corner of it. If you flip the merit badge pamphlet over and look on the bottom right corner, you will see, amongst other things down there, the year 2011. And the few instances where there were a second printing, they'll put TP, like second printing, 2011. So there's 2 printings, but you don't know how many were printed and what month. You just know the year. So they're back. But yeah, it's really hard on that. The one thing I've got, roughly 2,300 of my merit badge pamphlets, of the 10,000 or so in my collection, are the red and white strip. And I didn't collect them because they were the ones that were current in 2000 when I started collecting merit badge pamphlets. And again, I didn't want to pay even $2 for something that was be worth 10 cents 5 years later. And so I collecting them later. And I don't know how many I'm missing. I think I've got about 92% of them, which means I'm still missing about 180. That's just a plus or minus 2%, I'd say, number. I just don't know. And I went and called BSA and they're like, and keep that. Who cares? Who thought that anybody collect merit badge pamphlets? So they don't know. Nobody knows. I just got to guess. So that's a good point. Yeah, there was only a few years when they did. A few years early, you had to go by copyright, and then like 2003 to 2007, or some years in there I could go look, but there was a few years where they didn't have anything.